Okay. You say something?
No.
Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and start. Just trying to see if there's anything sent via email. No questions there. All right, welcome everyone to another open discussion of various topics. Session. Let's open up today's session. We're reciting the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll open the floor for questions and comments. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone to another open discussion and various topics session. As usual, this is an open discussion Q&A format. So you are welcome to pose any questions or comments you have in the chat, preferably of metaphysics or mystic topics. But if you do have any other questions or comments you'd like to pose, we would do our best to answer those for you. Okay. There's a bit of a delay on my side, but I think everything should be okay for today's session. You can pose your questions or comments in the chat. And as we go through today's session, I'll read those questions and get them answered for you. As per usual, a couple of resources to share to remind everyone that we've made available for you, including our website, mysticknowledge.org. And on that main page, you'll see links to navigate here on the left-hand side, specifically for the ebook libraries, where there are many books made available for you to download for free, curated by author or organized by author. And these are books recommended by Mr. Nehemiah Davis, the founder of the International Mystic Knowledge Center, and authors endorsed by Mr. Davis as well. There are about 4 pages of books, including a brief biography of the authors. And then there is also another resource here under study class lessons of additional authors, and even more books available for you to download. Or if you prefer, you can go to Amazon and click on these images here. It'll take you to Amazon and do a search for these authors, and you can purchase their books as well in print format. Under the further lessons tab, there's information here talking about the looming effect of Tantra yoga, 11 yogas for spiritual development. And this also dovetails into the methodology for the IM International Mystic Knowledge Center, which we've talked about multiple times. Here you can find many handouts on, here you can find some handouts as well as books referring to the different yogas that make up the Tantra yoga system, including Jnana yoga, and then books here, Swami Vivekananda, Ramacharaka. You have your Karma yoga, several books here, coming from Shivananda, William Walker Atkinson, and Annie Besant. And then following further on, you have Bhakti yoga, some additional books here, and then Hatha yoga, Raja yoga, and the books that recommended for those information on that, each yogas. Then pranayama, Ramacharaka, Ramaprasad, and Swami Sivananda. Mantra yoga, the seventh limb. Mudra yoga, and respective books there. Kriya yoga, some books on Kriya yoga. Kundalini yoga, and then books here on Kundalini yoga, including Serpent Power, and other books, including from Satyananda, Swami Satyananda. And then we come to here the Tantra Yoga books talking about Tantra as a whole. So many resources available for you. There's even a page here introducing Dr. Sri Yogi Riji, George King, founder and master of the Aetherius Society. You have a listing and a brief biography of Dr. George King here, as well as some of the books and recordings published and made by Dr. George King. And even a link directly that'll take you to the Aetherius Society, which we'll look at in a second. There are also a couple of books. Author Mr. Davis on the new book sale. You see his most recent published work, The Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer. And you have a synopsis of the book. And you can also send an email to mysticlessons@gmail.com to receive a copy. You can also email there if you like an autographed copy as well. We can set that together for you. You also have the option of going to Amazon, and if on Amazon you search Nehemiah Davis and mantra, the first two results will come up with Mr. Davis's first book, The Ancient Language of the Soul, The Mystic Knowledge of Mantra, as well as his second book, The Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, both available either as a Kindle or paperback or hardcover version. And you can also see a brief bio of the author under his author page and listing of his books that are currently available. Now moving on to the Aetherius Society, as mentioned earlier. Here is the main site for the Aetherius Society with lots of information about Dr. George King and Aetherius Society, its mission and purpose. And you also have the option of subscribing to Aetherius Cloud, where many of the lectures and transmissions given by and through Dr. George King are available for you to listen to as many times as you wish via a monthly subscription or annual subscription. I think there's two options, monthly and annual. And then finally, there is the website 12blessings.org. That's 12blessings.org. Here you can find information on the 12 blessings, including a prayer sheet that has the listings of the blessings and opportunities to participate in 12 blessing services. Okay. So with that, do we have any questions? Welcome to everyone joining us. Okay, so if there are no questions yet, and I would like to. So in a couple sessions ago, we talked about the methodology of the Mystic Knowledge Center. In last session, we even looked at the cover and introduced the next published work that Mr. Davis is working on. Talked about the motivations for the book and give a brief introduction um, to this upcoming work. And today I want to go back to the mysticknowledge.org website, and specifically on the further lessons, we were looking at the looming effect of Tantra Yoga and kind of give more um, insight into the methodology as well as the employing of Tantra Yoga into the methodology for the Mystic Knowledge Center. And the source I was going to look at is the two. Let me just put the page up so I can show everyone again. 1 second, let me find the Zoom window. So remember on here, further lessons, we have the looming effect of Tantra Yoga, 11 yogas for spiritual development. Tantra Yoga is a system of techniques that links several systems of yoga together in order to create a potent form of yoga that specializes in raising the power of Kundalini. Tantra means to loom or interlace. Yoga means a system of techniques that brings about union with God. Therefore, Tantra Yoga is a yoga system that interlaces several yoga techniques together in order to bring about a greater rise of consciousness under intense pressures of practice. The following yogas are loomed together in the positive techniques of Tantra Yoga. And this page is available for everyone, so you can uh, take a look at them at any time. But the two texts I wanted to look at today were introductions to Tantra Yoga. Give a general overview that includes Tantra Yoga, Introduction to Tantra Sastra by Sir John Woodruff, which even though it's introduction, it is a bit complicated or difficult to read for those who are just beginning to enter the metaphysical studies. But then there's another book which is a bit simpler to read, um, called The Path of Ecstasy, Tantra, The Path of Ecstasy by Dr. George Feuerstein. And I want to look at these two texts today, a bit more so the George Feuerstein text, just because it's easier to read and easier to understand, and then have a discussion around the preface and the introduction. So the preface and chapter 1 of that book. But we will continue to keep the floor open for any questions or comments that all of you have. So you can feel free to ask any questions. And you can also go to the mysticknowledge.org and download these books and read along with us, or read them at on your own time, and come back with any questions or comments that you have. I'm just trying to see if the principles of Tantra is easier to read and follow along. Or just stick with the Feuerstein book today. Yeah, I think I'll stick with the Feuerstein book. Okay, there's no questions yet. Then let's jump over to resume. So if you click on Introduction to Tantra Sastra, John Woodruff, it should open up a PDF document, usually in browser. And you'll be greeted by the cover. This might be a bit too complicated for today. Mm. Okay, let's start here at Siva and Sakti. I'll read a couple pages and then we'll move over to the Feuerstein text, which I think will be easier to follow. So it goes from Shiva and Sakti to Guna and then the worlds of Lokas. I think I'll stop at Guna and then move over to Feuerstein book. Is that right, Nimar? Or is there something else you wanted to cover today?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Um, that's a very difficult book now, so I hope you got your dictionary out.
Speaking of dictionary, I think we do have one here. Yeah, so if on the Mystic Knowledge website, if you want to study class lessons, the first couple of texts that'll come up is Encyclopedia of Hinduism, uh, Encyclopedic Occult Glossary, and other references here that can help you to translate and understand the Sanskrit terms and the terminology that's used in the book that may not be familiar to you, but these will definitely be of good help to you as you continue in your studies. So there's a lot of Sanskrit in Arthur Avalon's book, so please forgive my mispronunciations. I know I'm gonna butcher quite a few of them, but in Feuerstein's book, there's less Sanskrit, but the material content is still covered. But we'll start with Avalon and move over to Feuerstein. Siva and Sakti, that eternal, immutable existence which transcends the Turiya and all other states in the unconditioned absolute, the supreme Brahma or Parabrahma, without Prakriti or her attributes, which, as being the inner self and knowing subject, can never be the object of cognition, and is the apprehended, and is to be apprehended only through yoga by the realization of the self, which it is. For, as it is said, spirit can alone know spirit. Being beyond mind, speech, and without name, the Brahma was called Tat, or that, and then Tat Sat, that which is. For the sun, moon, and stars, and all visible things, what are they but a glimpse of light caught from that? Brahman is both Nishkala and Sakala. Kala is Prakriti. The Nishkala Brahman or Parabrahman is the Tat when thought of as without Prakriti. It is called Sakala when with Prakriti, as the substance of Prakriti is the three gunas or qualities. It is then Saguna, as in the previous state, it was Nirguna. Though in the latter state, it is thought of as without Sakti, yet making accommodation to human speech, in it potentially exists Sakti, its power and the whole universe produced by it. To say, however, that the Sakti exists in the Brahman is but a form of speech, since it and Sakti are in fact one, and Sakti is eternal. She is Brahma Rupa, and both Viguna, Nirguna, and Saguna. The Kait Anaya Rupinya Devi, who manifests all Bhuta. She is the Ana Darupina Devi, by whom the Brahman manifests itself, and who, to use the words of the Sarada, pervades the universe as does oil the sesame seed. Oh no, it's not sesame, sesamun seed. In the beginning, The Nishkala Brahman alone existed. In the beginning, there was the One. It willed and became many. Aman Bahu Sayam. Syam. Aman Bahu Syam. May I be many. In such manifestation of Sakti, the Brahman is known as the lower Apara or manifested Brahman, who, as the subject of worship, is meditated upon with attributes. And in fact, to the mind and sense of the embodied spirit Jiva, the Brahman has body and form. It is embodied in the forms of all divas and devis, and in the worshipper himself. Its form is that of the universe and of all things and beings therein. This is the how, but not the why. We still don't know the why. As Shruti, okay, as Shruti says, he saw sa aik sata aham bahu syam praja praja yeya. Just a quick note to everyone. As you're studying and reading these, even if you don't know Sanskrit at all, try your best to pronounce it and say it out loud. It, I found that even though I don't understand what the words say consciously, it helps a lot in understanding the content. So Dwen may not understand what these words mean, but something understands it. And it, and that something helps with my under to translate with my understanding with it. So as you're reading it, I'm going to skip some of it sometimes just for the interest of brevity, but in your own studies, read it out loud. I found this helps. Read it out loud and try your best to pronounce it as best as you can. Maybe pronounce it multiple times, the Sanskrit, and it'll go a long way in helping you to understand the information that's being presented in the text. He thought to himself, may I be many. Sa, aik sata, was itself a manifestation of Sakti. The Parama Bhuruva Nirvana Sakti of Brahman as Sakti, from the Brahman with Sakti, issued Nada, Shiva Shakti, as the word or sound, and from Nada, Bindu appeared. Khalid Charana, in his commentary on the Sat Chakra Nirupana, says that Siva and Nirvana Sakti, bound by a Mayik bound and covering, should be thought of as existing in the form of Param Bindu. So a lot of these words should sound familiar to you guys, especially if you've been studying Mr. Davis's lectures and notes for quite some time now. Uh, you'll see that Mr. Davis walks this balance of using Sanskrit and transliteration and translated into English terms, especially in the notes and in his lectures. And so it's that his teachings are modern and yet ancient at the same time in their combination of the ancient and teachings with a modern uh, interpretation for us to help us understand. So a lot of these terms should not be entirely foreign to you, but you'll also notice that in Miss Davis's teachings, when he goes to a Sanskrit word or introduces it for the first time in a text or in a illustration or in a lecture, he'll focus on the root of the word and define the root. And if you follow that root and include the prefixes or suffixes of it, it'll help you to understand some of these other terms here um, used by Arthur Avalon or Sir John Woodrow in his books, or the Sanskrit in his books. The Sarada says, Sachi Dananda Vibhavat Sakalat Param Paramis Varat Asi Chak Tistato Nando Nadad Bindu Samub Samudhava. Again, I apologize for that. From Param Savara, vested with the wealth of Sachidananda and with Prakriti Sakala, issued Sakti. From Sakti came Nada, and from Nada was born Bindu. Uh, which which handout was it that you illustrated this and you used these
I did
on
on a
several?
lot of,
Yeah, on
yeah.
several.
But
There's one where you use
now
these specific terms.
the trick of all of this to understand it is as you go on, it's talking about when the absolute spoke the word.
Hmm.
You realize that, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And what it's telling you is telling you that the creative word brought about the portal to allow creation to happen throughout the universe,
Hmm.
which is the Bindu. The Bindu is a concentrated point of Shakti, although Arthur Avalon said Shakti, but we say Shakti in the modern time. They added the H to it
Hmm.
when translated into English. And the you have in every vortex portal or vortex center of creation, you have a Bindu. The same way the sun is a Maha Bindu. The central sun is a greater Maha Bindu. And the moon is a Bindu. The earth is a Bindu. Now, what you when you look at it as creation goes out, and the Shakti, which is the universal power, it begins to modify itself, and it takes on a it reverses itself because it becomes uh, in simple terms it becomes female, male, and neither.
Hmm.
You understand?
Hmm.
Because the Shiva is the creator and the destroyer, right?
Hmm.
But and then the Shakti is the opposite of Shiva. But then the Shakti takes on uh, a male influence, a female influence, and the modified influence that takes you back to Shiva, and then Shiva becomes the destroyer of matter,
Hmm.
energy and matter. or it becomes the nirvana state. And that's what they're trying to say right there. And it talks about the gonads, which is the different qualities of mind, which is chitta, which is the second principle of Shakti,
Mm-hmm.
which is chitta, chitta Shakti. So it's very hard. That's why you have to have a dictionary to look at it, and it also talk about units of time
Mm-hmm.
or cycles when it talks about nature,
Mm-hmm.
prakriti, that's the natural or nature, and then it talk about that's the cycles of time or the revolutions or the units of cycles that something has to go through. Where it says sakala,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it's and he loosely used Bindu, but later on in his other books he really go into explain what it means because he pinpointed that as he gets better as he writes the other books,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's when he calls it a point of consciousness, a concentrated compaction point of Shakti, of the Shakti principles and the modified Shakti, or Shakti ready to be modified, or something like that. And then he gets into the Tava matter that, or Tava rays that the celestial beings release into the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe, which is used as mind, energy, and the Mahabhutas, which is etheric matter and gross matter.
So welcome to everyone joining us. Today we are looking at a couple of texts from the mysticknowledge.org website. So if you go on our website and click on further lessons, you'll see a page dedicated to the looming effect of Tantra Yoga. And if you scroll down to the section on Tantra Yoga, you'll see two texts. The first one, Tantra Yoga, Introduction to Tantra Sasha by Sir John Woodruff, which is what we're currently reading from, which I'll read maybe two or three more paragraphs. And then I'll switch over to the second book that we're going to look at today, which is the fourth listing here under the Tantra Yoga section. Tantra Yoga, Tantra, The Path of Ecstasy by George Feuerstein. So if you're interested in reading along with us, that's where the texts are available, and you can follow along as well. So, greetings everyone joining us, and as always, the chat is open. So if you do have any questions or comments at all, metaphysics necessarily have to pertain to what we're looking at today. You can post them in the chat, and we'll answer those for you. The state of subtle body, which is known as the Kamakala, is the mula of mantra. Might be storming outside in a second. I may lose internet. The term mula vantramika, when applied to the Devi, refers to this subtle body of hers known as the Kama Kala. The Tantra also speaks of three bindus, namely Siva Maya, Shakti Maya, and Siva Shakti Maya. Are those the Granty nuts?
No, no,
No?
no, it's not. Another way to look at it, so it means multiple meanings, but another way to look at it is is the positive modified Shakti, the negative modified Shakti, and the neutral modified Shakti. But it's it's at a level where where it's more of an illusion than a reality. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, your conscious mind right now is using its senses and sense organs, and although it's taking in hundreds of units of information, it filter out according to your level of consciousness or intellect.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you are living and moving in a state of illusion
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because not that it really is an illusion, it's only because of your perception.
Mm-hmm.
You have not sensitized your mental apparatus to see multiple realms of existence interacting with itself
Mm-hmm.
and bringing about the root cause of things. So, in other words, uh, a scientist or a doctor who study multiple levels of matter can see something happen and they can pinpoint the internal reasons why it happened.
Mm-hmm.
The same way a metaphysician can look at the different levels of your aura and mental makeup and multiple lives and tell you have a sense of why you are in the strategic position that you are in. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you can understand what I just said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So later on you'll get the sense of what he's talking about and you'll begin to understand.
Mm-hmm. The Parambindu is represented as a circle, the center of which is the Brahma Pada, or the place of Brahma, wherein the Prakriti Purusa, the circumference of which is encircling Maya. It is on the crescent of the Nirvana Kala, the 17th, which is again in that of Amakala, the 16th digit referred to in the text of the moon circle, Chandra Mandala, which circle is situate above the sun circle, Surya Mandala, the Guru, and the Hamsa, which are in the pericarp of the thousand-petaled lotus. Next to the Bindu is the fiery Bodhini, or Nib Bodhika, the Bindu with the Nirvana Kala, Nibodhika, and the Amakala are situated in the lightning-like inverted triangle known as A Ka Ta, and which is so called because at its apex is A, at its right base is Ka, and at its left base Ta. It is made up of 48 letters, the 16 vowels running from A to Ka, 16 consonants from the Ka, Varga, and other groups running from Ka to Tha, and the remaining 16 from Tha to A or A. Inside are the remaining letters Ha, La, and Sa. As the substance of Devi is, is Matraka, the triangle represents the word of all that exists. The triangle is itself encircled by the Chandra Mandala. Oh, is that why? So this is why Dr. King said the triangle represents God,
The greatest
there's
expression of
expression of
God
God.
in in symbols.
Sorry, what is that? The triangle is itself encircled by the Chandra Mandala. The Bindu is symbolically described as being like a grain of gram, Chanaka, which under its encircling sheath contains a divided seed. This Parambindu is Pakriti Purusa, Siva Sakti. It is known as the Sabda Brahman, the sound body, or Apara Brahman, a polarization of the two Siva and Sakti tattvas then takes place in the Parasakti Maya. The Devi becomes Unmukhini, um, Unmukhi, Unmukhi, Mukhi. Her face turns towards Shiva. There is an unfolding which bursts the encircling shell of Maya, and creation then takes place by division of Shiva and Shakti, or of Ham and Sa.
To make it understandable, it's talking about the embodiment of consciousness.
Okay, so this is the Shiva coming down Sushumna,
Yes,
or
it's talking.
okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
talking about the embodiment of consciousness. It's how the soul takes its place, and you see when it starts. It's when it the upper when you talking about kala,
Uh-huh.
when they was using kala as a suffix, that's creating time cycles.
Mm-hmm.
It's creating cycles or time cycles in order to uh, give that energy configuration a particular time to be embodied and to create the to bring about the limitation and it used the mental world, which is uh, the moon, which it describes the moon. You've seen
Mm-hmm.
that's the Bendu of the moon, because the moon helps create the time cycles for us here on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sun, Shira, it it sustains the time cycle. We live by the grace of the God. And then the earth, I don't know if it mentioned the Rutra,
Not.
the substance of the earth, which is the soil, the 14 major minerals feed the the vehicles for the embodied consciousness so that we can gain experience through our cycles of reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
And from that comes the conversion point called what you was asking before, the Grantinon.
Mm-hmm. So her it says her face turns towards Shiva. Is this the point where Shiva begins reaches the Muladhara and begins to turn back up and circle itself? Or we haven't gotten there yet.
Well, it's where is where the it could be more. It can be because they happen on both ends of the for our reference. They happen at both ends of the spinal column. Remember, Dr. King said we are only here to do what?
To master the power of Kundalini, master of energy, and
Up and down what?
the spine,
The
Sushumna.
spine. So when they talk about the Shiva point at the bottom of the spine, when the Shakti falls down to the bottom of the spine, it goes into a Shiva state. That Shiva state is it divides the Shakti, meaning that it breaks the Shakti up into many parts, meaning that you are cut off from the divine.
Mm-hmm.
You are cut off from your divine awareness. And now you have to build yourself back up. When it goes back up to the top, the soul have to begin to manage everything in order to help you mold and shape the matter into a matter that can mix with a conscious God, so that you can go back to the absolute as conscious God. So it begins to hide itself from us,
Mm-hmm.
but it operates strictly according to the law of the karma behind the scene, using the mighty powers of the sun, the planets, the moons of the planet, and the subtle and gross energy of the planets and universe and galaxy.
Okay.
When you read it in that context, and just get a dictionary, and you'll see what it all means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we move out of that blissful state into this state of manas, this state of consciousness of manas that we have to filter through.
I'll read a couple more paragraphs, then I'll move over to the Feuerstein text. The Sarada says the Devata Parasakti Maya is again itself divided, such divisions being known as Bindu, Biha, and Nada. Bindu is of the nature of Nada of Shiva, and Biha of Shakti. And Nada has been said to relate these two by those which are versed in all the agamas. Okay, so Nada being unmanifested is Shiva, Biha being manifested is Shakti. Okay, I think I get that. And Nada has been said to be the relation of these two by those who are versed in all the agamas. The Sarada says that before the bursting of the shell and closing the Brahmapada, which together with its defining circumference constitutes the Sabda Brahma, an indistinct sound arose. This of Avyatananda is both the first and the last state of nada, according as it is viewed from the standpoint of evolution or involution. Okay, so from soundless sound to soundless sound. For nada, as Raghava Bhatta says, exists in three states. In nada are the gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which form the substance of prakriti.
which is nature, which is also matter.
Yes, which 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 with siva it is. Okay. When tamoguna predominates nada, or when tamoguna predominates, nada is merely an indistinct or unmanifested sound in the nature of Dvni. In this state, in which it is a phase of avyakta nada, it is called nibodhika, nibodhika, or bodhini. It is nada when Rajoguna is in the ascendant, when there is a sound in which there is something like a connected or combined disposition of the letters. I've never heard this term before. Rajoguna is a type of guna or pre-guna?
Yeah, yeah. Raja Guna is where he's spelling it different, but it's desire.
Okay, the letters. When the sattva guna preponderates, nada, when the sattva guna preponderates, nada assumes the form of
All right.
bindu. The action of rajas on tamas is to veil. Mhm.
Hmm.
It's say the mind?
Yeah, I was talking to Robin.
Oh, its own independent action affects an arrangement which is only perfected by the emergence of the essentially manifesting sattvika guna set into play by it. Nada, bindu, nibodhika, and the sakti of which they are the specific manifestations are said to be in the form of sun, moon, and fire, respectively. Nana,
Fire is earth. Fire is earth.
okay.
All right.
So is it referring to the logos then?
Yes, it's earth.
Oh, okay.
When you see fire, there is Rutra or earth. It's it represents the elements of earth.
Okay. Because the logos is represented as a flame, as a,
Yeah,
yeah.
everything comes from the logos of earth.
Okay.
But when they mention in theosophy, when they mention logos, they talking about something higher, but it's still earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the consciousness, it's the combined beings that came together to form the consciousness of earth, to take on a huge responsibility of housing life streams for at least 6 to 7 billion years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is interesting. Nana, spiritual wisdom, is spoken of as fire, as it burns up all actions, and the tamoguna is associated with it. Interesting.
Did
That's
you know
calm.
that already?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For when the effect of for when the effect of cause and effect of action are really known, then action ceases. That's the karma in Nana. Icha is the moon. The moon contains the 16th digit. The Amakala with its nectar, which neither increases nor decays, and Icha, or will, is the eternal precursor of creation.
In other words, it produces the mind belt that we live in and have our being in, and we use that as a driving force to modify the Shakti power or wield the Shakti power into what we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Without without that mind belt, you can't you can't mold energy or matter. So you take them. So what the soul did, the soul immediately took a pure part of the mind of the chitta and created the supra consciousness. The super consciousness created the concentrated, localized area called what we call the auric body, and then from there, the auric body modified the stream of energy, the chakras, what they just was describing, the different parts of the chakras. They modified that in order to create the lines of force that created the superconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind, so that we can begin to modify prana, mahabhutas, and gross matter,
Mm-hmm.
because that becomes the design specifications for anything we want to create or modify uh, inside of our existence. Whether we do it, we have to do it on a mental level, no matter where we are, and then it falls down to the energy level, and then uh, an energy level that follows the specification of nature, practically what they were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
which is the law of karma, and then it falls into place with elements and gross matter on any level, whether it's the etheric level, astral level, or the physical level, gross physical level,
That's the seven dimensions.
which is made very simple to us. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So with the moon, divine will, and this is the pressure on the mind. So with the will playing a central role in mind, oh, that's oh, we can't
In
exist
other
without the
words,
moon.
the moon is the helps to hold the mind belt in place so that we can utilize it.
Mhm. It's the vehicle for mind, for us.
Yeah, it's the mind is everywhere, but the moon is one of the is one of the gods, you could say, that that helps to bring about the mind belt that we could tap into here on Earth,
Hmm.
and it modifies the mind. It modifies the mind belt to allow us to tap into it. and it does it with the two highest uh, vortex centers on the spine, which is the adrenal chakra, which we call the Christ chakra, and the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and we know that the throat chakra is the thing that's used by the sound that they described earlier to create the embodied consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a purifier too. So the moon uses those two centers because the Christ center or the adrenal chakra is the command center for the auric body and for the soul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why the moon. And then you think about it, we are moon. Our
People.
body, our
Mm-hmm.
bodies act according to the moon, and the vessel that the portal that we come through, which is a female here on Earth, is on moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there are more females are usually more intelligent than men, and they're more intuitive than men. As Dr. George King said, they are psychic men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Where did I stop here? Or will it temporary education? Kriya is like sun, for as the sun by its light makes all things visible. So unless there is action and striving, there cannot be realization or manifestation. Right. Because the motion brings about length, breadth, and height. Time. As the Gita says, as one sun makes manifest, as one sun makes manifest all the lokas. Okay, after this
You
paragraph,
understand?
I think so. I think I grasp it.
A locus is
A plane, a realm, right?
realms,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's time cycles as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk about the stream of energy, the chakras being a stream of energy, that's what it's actually saying now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which it opened up saying that as well.
The Sabda Brahma manifests itself in a triad of energies: knowledge, Nana Sakti, uh-huh, will, Icha Sakti, and action, Kriya Sakti. Shouldn't that be wisdom?
Yeah, but that's the way he entertains it. It
Mhm.
should be, yeah.
Associated with the three gunas of Prakriti, Tamas, Sattva, and Rajas. From the Parambindu, who is both uh, Bind, Bindva, Binvatmaka, Binvatmaka, and Kalatma, i.e., Sakti, issued Rudri, Rudra, and his Sakti, whose forms are five, Vachni, and whose activity is knowledge, Jina, sorry, Nana, Vama, and Vishnu, and his Sakti, whose form is the sun and whose activity is Kriya, action. and Jyestha and Brahma and his Sakti, whose form is the moon and whose activity is desire. The Vamak Vara Tantra says that Tripura is threefold. Tripura is threefold as Brahma, Vishnu, and Isha, and as the energies desire, wisdom, and action. The energy of will when Brahman would create, the energy of wisdom when she reminds him, saying, let this be thus. Uh-huh. And when, thus knowing, he acts, she becomes the energy of action. Ah, okay. The Devi is thus Icha Sakti, Nana Sakti, Kriya Sakti, Svar Upina. Oh, I get it.
So, it's the modified chassis that I talk about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But with each configuration, there's a diva.
Right.
There's a goddess that's that that makes sure that all the energy is moved in the right direction, which is the pressure towards conformity.
Is that a Supreme Lord of Creation?
No, they just loyal divas,
Oh, okay.
but the supreme laws of creation is the thing that creates the pressure across the universe.
Okay. I kind of want to continue this. I like this better than the Feuerstein book, but let me switch over to the Feuerstein book and um, give everyone a comparison. But just want for those who are following along and reading along with this, um, although it sounds very advanced, and it is, Mr. Davis has said in the past that what we're studying right now, this is just Introduction to Tantra Sastra, and even that is just the ABCs, the beginning of metaphysical knowledge. There's still much, 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 much more to study, and it goes much, much, much deeper. As you can see, we read one sentence, and Mr. Davis is able to unravel so much from just a word, a prefix, a suffix, and and a couple of terms. So if you're reading along, or if you're watching this, if you're studying this, and it just seems so overwhelming and just like you'll never understand it, be patient with yourself. Um, Allow yourself to hit that point of confusion, and eventually, as you continue your studies and continue your practices, you'll overcome that confusion, and more will be revealed to you as you review these texts over and over and over and over again, and take the information with you, a sentence, a word, even a paragraph with you into the silence, and allow uh, more wisdom to flow to you. So that is the Introduction to Tantra Sastra by Sir John Woodroffe, which is the first link here, available for you. It's a couple of paragraphs from the introduction. Next, we'll look at a couple of introduction for uh, Tantra, the Path of Ecstasy by George Feuerstein, and I'll be able to read through this a little bit quicker because there's not as much Sanskrit, and it's a much more recent book. So the English is a bit simpler as well, but the information is still very good. So let's hop forward to the preface. Tantra has become a household word in certain circles in the West, but as it is often the case with household words, popularity does not necessarily imply understanding. Frequently, we hear words like consciousness, holistic, creativity, or imagination, but how many people could give an intelligent explanation of any of these? Similarly, Tantra has captured the fascination of a good many Westerners, but few of them actually know what it stands for, including some of those who profess to practice, teach, or write about it. Tantra, or Tantrism, is an exceptionally ramified or complex esoteric tradition of Indic origin. It made its appearance around 500 CE through some of its proponents, though some of its proponents claim a far longer history. Tantra-like ideas, Tantra-like ideas and practices can indeed be found in traditions and teachings of a much earlier era. As a full-fledged movement or cultural style extending over both Hinduism and Buddhism, however, Tantra seems to have originated around the middle of the first millennium CE. It reached maturity around 1000 CE in the philosophical school of Abhinava Gupta. It profoundly influenced the outlook and practices of many non-tantric traditions, such as Vedanta. Excuse me. Often practitioners of these traditions have been unaware of that influence and might even be offended at the suggestion that they engage in typically tantric practices. The reason for this is that within the fold of Hinduism, Tantra gradually fell into disrepute because of the radical antinomian practices of some of its adherents. During the Victorian colonization of India, Puritanism drove tantric practitioners underground. Today, Tantra survives mainly in a conservative samyama molds of the Srividya tradition of South India and the Buddhist tradition of Tibet, though both heritages also have their more radical practitioners who understandably prefer to stay out of the public limelight, particularly Tibetan Vajrayana has become increasingly popular in the West, and it is relatively easy to receive initiation and instruction in this form of Tantra. From the beginning, Tantra understood itself as a New Age teaching, especially tailored for the needs of the Kali Yuga, the era of spiritual decline that is still present today. According to Herbert V. Gunther, a renowned scholar of Buddhism, the Tantras, the scriptures of Tantrism, contain a very sound and healthy view of life. His implied point that the tantric view is valid and pertinent even today matches the appraisal of other Western scholars and students of Tantra. Robert Baer, a colorblind British painter of beautiful, richly colored thankas, remarked that the philosophical core of the numerous tantric legends has a universal appeal and application that transcends culture, religion, and okay, okay, let's go to introduction. Definitions. Tantra is a Sanskrit word that, like the term yoga, has many distinct but basically related meanings. At the most mundane level, it denotes web, huh? Or woof. It derives from the verbal root tan, meaning to expand. This root also yields the word tantu, thread or cord, As a thread is something that is extensive, a web suggests expansion. Tantra can also stand for system, ritual, doctrine, and compendium. According to the esoteric explanations, Tantra is that which expands Nana, which can mean either knowledge or wisdom. The late Akhenanda Bharati, an Austrian-born professor of anthropology at Syracuse University and a monk of the Dashanami order, argued that only knowledge can be expanded, not the immutable wisdom. But this is not entirely correct. Wisdom through coessential wisdom, though coessential with reality, and therefore perennial, can be expanded in the sense of informing the spiritual practitioner more and more. This process is like placing a sponge in a shallow pool of water. It gradually sucks up the water and becomes completely suffused with moisture. Thus, while wisdom is always the same, it can also paradoxically grow inside a person. Or, to put it differently, a person can grow to reflect more and more of the eternal wisdom. Yeah, I like Sir John Woodrow's book better. But Tantra is also the expansive, all-encompassing reality revealed by wisdom. As such, it stands for continuum, the seamless whole that comprises both transcendence and immanence, reality and reality, being and becoming.
Re- Remember, John Woodrow. He was a monk and a judge, a lawyer.
Hmm.
He was a lawyer turned judge turned monk. So he was more esoteric, and he became more traditional in his teaching. George is a professor and a mystic as well, but his professor he did a lot for these teachings because
He
he
did,
made
yes,
it.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's utilizing the skills that he have, which is his professorship, his ability to teach.
Yeah, but it feels like he's saying a lot without saying anything.
Yeah, so later on he'll start using the terminology that it looms
Hmm.
instead of saying, well, this might be one of his earlier books. He wrote a lot of books.
Yeah, he did. He did. And he explained a lot of stuff too, for especially for Western audiences. Where did I stop here? Where did I go? Where did I stop? Okay. Uh, Pool of water, or simply put, person can grow, affect more water. But Tantra is also the expansive, all-encompassing reality revealed by wisdom. As such, it stands for a continuum. The seamless whole that comprises both transcendence and immanence, reality, beginning, coming, terminology, no, that, transcendence, or in some terminology, nirvana and samsara, or Brahma and Jagat. Here, the words samsara and Jagat stand for the familiar world of flux that we experience through our senses. Historically, Tantra denotes a particular style or genre of spiritual teachings beginning to achieve prominence in India about 1500 years ago. Teachings that affirm the continuity between spirit and matter. The word also signifies a scripture in which such teachings are revealed. By extension, the term is often applied to textbooks or manuals in general. Tradition speaks of 64 tantras, though, as with the 108 Upanishads, this is an ideal figure that does not reflect historical reality. We know of many more tantras, though few of them have survived the ravages of time. A practitioner of Tantra is called a sadhaka, if male, or sadhika, if female. Other expressions are tantrika or tantra yogin if male, or tantra yogini if female. An adept of the tantric path is typically known as a siddha, accomplished one, from sid, meaning to be accomplished or to attain. Mahasiddha, greatly accomplished one, that is a great adept. The female adept is called a siddha angana, a woman adept, or an anga, meaning limb or part. The tantric path itself is frequently referred to as a sadhana, the sadhana or sadhana, or the same word, from the same verbal root as siddha, and the spiritual achievement of this path is called siddhi, having the dual meaning of perfection and powerful accomplishment. Siddhi can refer either to the spiritual attainment of liberation or enlightenment, or to the extraordinary powers or paranormal abilities ascribed to tantric masters as a result of enlightenment or by virtue of mastery of the advanced stages of concentration. A tantric preceptor, whether he or she is enlightened or not, is called either an akarya, conductor, which is related to akara, way of life, or a guru, weighty one. Tantra, a teaching for the Dark Age. Tantra understands itself as a gospel for the new age of darkness, the Kali Yuga. According to the Hindu worldview, history unfolds in a cyclical pattern that proceeds from a golden age to world ages of progressive spiritual decline, and then back to an era of light and plenty. These ages are called yugas, yokes, presumably because they fasten beings to the wheel of time, Kala Chakra, the flux of conditioned existence. There are four such yugas which repeat themselves over and over again, all the while maturing all beings, but especially human beings. The scriptures speak of these developmental processes as cooking. The four world ages in order are the Satya Yuga, in which truth, Satya, reigns supreme, and which is also known as Krita Yuga, because everything in it is well made. Krita. The Treta Yuga, in which truth and virtue are somewhat diminished. Nivapada Yuga, in which truth and virtue are further diminished, and the Kali Yuga, which is marked by ignorance, delusion, and greed. These correspond to the four ages known in classical Greece as four. I'm sorry. These correspond to the four ages known in classical Greece and ancient Persia. Significantly, the Sanskrit names for the four world ages derive from dice playing. Okay. A favorite pastime of Indic humanity ever since Vedic times. The Rig Veda, which is at least 5,000 years old, has a hymn that has been dubbed Gambler's Lament because its composer talks poetically of his addiction to gambling. Of the dice, he says that handles of the dice, he says that handless, they master him who has hands, causing loss, shame, and grief. The Bharata War, chronicled in the Mahabharata epic, excuse me, was the ill-gotten fruit of gambling, for Yudhishthira lost his entire kingdom to the wicked cousin Duryodhana with the throw of a die. Krita signifies the lucky or well-made throw. Vapara, deuce, a throw of 2 points, treta, tre, a throw of 3 points, And Kali, from the verbal root kal, to impel, the total loss, indicated by a single point on the die. The word Kali is not, as is often thought, the same as the name of the well-known goddess Kali. However, since Kali symbolizes both time and destruction, it does not seem far-fetched to connect her specifically with the Kali Yuga, though of course she is deemed to govern all spans and modes of time. The Tantras describe the first golden age as the era of material and spiritual plenty. According to the Mahan Irvana Tantra, people were wise and virtuous and pleased the deities and forefathers by their practice of yoga and spiritual rituals. By means of their study of the Vedas, meditation, austerities, master the senses, and charitable deeds, they acquired great fortitude and power. Even though mortal, they were like the deities, Deva. The rulers were high-minded and ever concerned with protecting the people entrusted to them, while among the ordinary people there were no thieves, liars, fools, or gluttons. Nobody was selfish, envious, or lustful. The favorable psychology of the people was reflected outwardly in land producing all kinds of grain in plenty, cows yielding abundant milk, trees laden with fruits, and ample seasonable rains fertilizing all vegetation. There was neither famine nor sickness nor untimely death. People were good-hearted, happy, beautiful, and prosperous. Society was well-ordered and peaceful. In the next world age, the Tritra Yuga, people lost their inner peace and became incapable of applying the Vedic rituals properly, yet clung to them anxiously. Out of pity, the god Shiva brought helpful traditions, Smriti, into the world by which the ancient teachings could be better understood and practiced. But humanity was set on a worsening course, which became obvious in the Third World Age. People abandoned the methods prescribed in the Smritis and thereby only magnified their perplexity and suffering. Their physical and emotional illnesses increased, and as the Mahan Irvana Tantra insists, they lost half of the divinely appointed law, Dharma. Again, Shiva intervened by making the teachings of the Samhitas and other religious scriptures available. With the rise of the Fourth World Age, the Kali Yuga, all of the divinely appointed law was lost. Many Hindus believe that the Kali Yuga was ushered in at the time of the death of the god-man Krishna, who is said to have left this earth in 30, 3102 BCE, at the end of the famous Bharata War. There is no archaeological evidence for this date, and it is probable that Krishna lived much later. Oh. But this is relatively unimportant for the present consideration. What matters, however, is that most traditional authorities consider the Kali Yuga to be still very much in progress. In fact, according to Hindu computations, we are only in the opening phase of this dark age, which is believed to have a total span of 360,000 years. Thus, from a Hindu perspective, the current talk in certain Western circles of a promising new age, the age of Aquarius, is misguided. At best, this is a mini cycle of self-deception leading to false optimism and complacency, followed by worsening conditions. This is in fact what some Western critics of the New Age movement have suggested as well. Other critics have argued, conversely, that the Hindu model of cyclical time is unrealistic and outdated.
That's his professorship coming in.
Yeah.
'Cause it's actually 400 thousand years. And of course, the European influence, he has a lot of European influence in his writing
Mm-hmm.
because, this places Sri Krishna 3,100 some years before
Before Christ.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and it was so that that would make it uh, 5,000 years ago.
Hmm.
So of course, the Europeans they changed time in order to place themselves more into the uh, the scheme of things, because Africa, uh, India, Asia, they had been around for millions of years.
Hmm. So the next master that's coming won't lift uh, us out of the Kali Yuga, but will operate within it.
Well, we understand that time is being accelerated because the
Oh, yeah,
Earth
that's
have
right. Yeah,
met its the Earth have met
it's
its
half-life.
half life.
Hmm.
So now time have to accelerate, and we also understand that a new planet have entered the solar system, so that the life that's not ready and this is not ready to move forward with this logos planet, have to go and live on a younger planet.
Hmm.
And this is not this is although Dr. George King made it more prevalent and talked about it a lot, but he wasn't the first one to say that. I mean, it was this was spoke about hundreds of years ago.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So, but he recorded the actual event to bring it to that half life with the initiation of the Earth. So,
Hmm.
and he made it as simple as anyone can understand if they want to. But this is something that was written down saying that it was going to happen. So, but yeah, that's the acceleration of it.
Hmm. Okay.
Not saying that now. It's another way to look at it too. If these cycles really exist, which I think they do, um, Kali supposed to be a time for the lower life form.
To rapidly develop because of the pressures in the Kali
Yeah,
Yuga.
and in the human life form, we should have been vibrated to the etheric realm.
Mm.
See, and the gross physical realm should have been left to to the animals and plant life and microscopic life
Hmm.
to create the proper balance. In other words, the sentinel life form should have moved closer to the logos of the earth. They can
Hmm.
move into their etheric realms and move closer to the logos of the Mother Earth in order to help accelerate her time and don't put so much stress on her to take care of the distortion of the astral planes and the gross physical plane.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the plant life, the marine life, all these they follow the laws of karma better than man do with his self consciousness. So it's not saying that these cycles are wrong or lengthy or whatever. It could they probably described it just right. It's just that we were not on time to to uh, to actually do what the solar system did, what Dr. King or the Master Six and the Master Theorists described, where they uh, they raised the vibrations of the solar system, where they went to higher planes of existence.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the Mother Earth couldn't do that because of we were on her back, but she was supposed to the life forms on this planet should have vibrated to a different level of existence.
Mm-hmm.
because 18 million some years ago, the distortion called the astral planes and the gross physical planes came about, had to be formed here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the secret doctrines and the standards of Sudan, it took a couple 100,000 years for that to happen, for the densification to happen, so that the the uh, the beings that was living on the astral plane can be born on the physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
And the etheric planes had to split in order to create the astral planes, which the Great White Brotherhood through Alice Bailey and through Marlon Malasky called it the astral distortion.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
astral planes is actually a distortion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that the initiation of Earth probably marked the time that all life forms should have vibrated to another level. Because remember that I think it was the Master Theorist or Master 86 talked about that the initiation of the solar system took place, but the Mother Earth couldn't participate in it.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was an emergency period at that time, remember?
yeah.
Wow, that's terrible. Okay. Now, whatever the truth of this matter may be, the Tantras emphasize that their teachings are designed for spiritual seekers trapped in the Dark Age, which is in effect today. This is how the Mahanidvara Tantra, in prophetic words of the goddess, describes the current age. With the sinful Kali in progress, in which all law is destroyed and which abounds with evil ways and evil phenomena, and gives rise to evil activities. Then the Vedas become inefficient, to say nothing of remembering the Smritis and the many Puranas containing various stories and showing the many ways to liberation. Will be destroyed, O Lord. Then people will turn away from virtuous action and become habitually unrestrained, mad with pride, fond of evil deeds, lustful, confused, cruel, rude, scrupulous, deceitful, short-lived, dull-witted, troubled by sickness and grief, ugly, weak, vile, attached to vile behavior, fond of vile company, and stealers of others' money. They become rogues, who are intent on blaming, slandering, and injuring others, and who feel no reluctance, sin, or fear in seducing the wife of another. They become destitute, filthy, wretched beggars, who are sick from their vagrancy. The
Doesn't
Madhivana
that
Tant.
doesn't
Sorry.
that describe the current
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. I was just thinking that. That's where we are right now. The Mahanivada Tantra continues its description of the dreariness of the Kali Yuga by saying that even the Brahmins become degenerate and perform the religious practices mainly to dupe the people. Thus, the custodians of the law, Dharma, merely contribute to the destruction of the sacred tradition and the moral order. The Tantra next reiterates that Shiva revealed the tantric teachings to stem the tide of history and correct this tragic situation. The masters of Tantra are profoundly optimistic. And I'll read this last section and then that'll be it for today's session. The adepts of Tantra believe that it is possible to attain liberation or enlightenment even in the worst social and moral conditions. They also believe, however, that the traditional means devised or revealed in the previous world ages are no longer useful or optimal, for those means were designed for people of far greater spiritual and moral stamina who lived in a more peaceful environment conducive to inner growth. The present age of darkness has innumerable obstacles that make spiritual maturation exceedingly difficult. Therefore, more drastic measures are needed. The tantric methodology.
such as the 12 blessings
And 12
and
blessings, prayer
many,
power, and enter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I was just thinking
and
of that.
all the other comic stabilizing type uh, operations.
Hmm. What is so special about the tantric teachings that they should serve the spiritual needs of the Dark Age better than all other approaches? In many ways, the tantric methods are similar to non-tantric practices. What is strikingly different about them is their inclusiveness and the radical attitude with which they are pursued. A desperate person will grasp for a straw, and seekers in the Kali Yuga are, or should be, desperate. From the vantage point of a spiritual heritage extending over several thousand years, the Tantric masters at the beginning of the Common Era realized that the Dark Age calls for especially powerful techniques to break, to break through lethargy, resistance, and attachment to conventional relationships and worldly things, as well as to deal with the lack of understanding. Looking at the available means handed down from teacher to student through countless generations, they acknowledged that these required a purity and nobility of character that people of the Dark Ages no longer possess. To help humanity in the Kali Yuga, the Tantric adepts modified the old teachings and created a new repertoire of practices. The orientation can be summed up in two words: anything goes, or at least almost anything. Uh, Two words is a dear society. That's
Yeah,
that's a dear society. There's a question here. Greetings. Are Bindus able to get information from us? Do they react to our actions or thoughts?
a Bendu is a concentrated uh, point or portal of the divine. So we pull information from from the Bendu, not necessarily the Bendu pulling information from us. The Bendu is the all knowledge space. It's the point of endless potential. Is that is that spirit, that divine spark. It's access to the divine spark of God or spirit. So the same with the sun is a Mahabindu. It pulls the energy from the absolute via the galaxy, via the central sun, the galaxy, the universe, and gives it and feeds trillions of life forms. The uh, the moon does the same thing. The planet does the same thing, and then we tap into the stream of energy which is given to us through the chakras, because the chakras are frequencies of mind and realms of existence that the soul have tapped into to form the chakras within the auric body. So the bindus are it's much more than what most people think it is. It is that it is that divine spark of God within. It's the portal to the divine spark of God. It's also the endless potential. You know, another description of it was it's the it's a compaction of Shakti, and Shakti is actually power, cosmic power, and it has an endless. supply of that power. It's tapped into the endless supply of that power.
Mm-hmm.
It's the love energy, which is the only energy that can move from manifested state to an unmanifested state and back to a manifested state in order to preserve life or progression. That's something that the Cosmic Masters taught us and gave to us.
I apologize, everyone. I'm going to have to go over our time by a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes or so. But we'll wrap up shortly and then close out today's session. But you're still welcome to pose any questions or comments you have in the chat, and we'll answer those for you. The tantric masters even sanction practices that are considered sinful or from a conventional moral and spiritual framework. This feature of tantra has been termed antinomianism, nomianism, which is the Greek derived word, which, as its Greek derived word implies, consists in going against accepted norm or law, nomos. The tantric texts use words like pratilo man, against the grain, and paraviti, inversion, to describe their teachings. Some tantric adepts have made a way of life out of this principle of reversal, as can be seen in the extremist lifestyle by the Avadutas, who walk about naked and live among heaps of garbage. They model themselves after the god man Dattatreya, who supposedly lived in the Treta Yuga. In the Puranic literature, he is celebrated as an incarnation of the Trimurti, the Trinity of Hinduism, namely the deities of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. Such initiates can still be found today in the 20th century adept Rang Avathut, Rang Avatuta of Nareshwar in Gujarat, was venerated as a form of Dattatreya. This Avadhuta was a college graduate who translated Tolstoy's works and composed his own book in Sanskrit, yet he lived in utter simplicity and quite unattached to any form of religion. The members of the Aghori sect are still more extreme in their unconventionality and can be seen near cremation grounds, where, clothed only in the ashes from the funeral pyres, they pursue their solitary meditations. Tantric antinomianism can be seen at work, especially in the notorious left-hand schools of Tantra. The members avail themselves of unlawful practices such as ritualized sexual intercourse, maituna, with a person other than one's marital partner, and the consumption of aphrodisiacs, alcohol, and meat, a taboo found in traditional India's vegetarian culture, as well as frequenting burial grounds for necromantic rituals. I will say more about this left-hand side of Tantra in chapter 14. Understandably, the religious orthodoxy of the Brahmins has always looked at Tantra and Tantric practitioners with dismay or even disdain. But Hindu society, which is apparently the oldest continuous pluralistic society on earth, has something of a built-in tolerance, which over the millennia has allowed all kinds of religious and spiritual traditions to flourish side by side. Another factor that facilitated the widespread acceptance of Tantra in the span of a few generations was the reputation of tantric initiates as powerful magicians, be it of the white or the black variety. People feared the curses and spells of tantrikas and did not want to be seen condemning or denigrating them, even if they thought the tantric views and practices were in error. Even today, the rural population of India both venerates and fears ascetics, particularly those manifesting a tantric demeanor. Yogins and yoginis have always been looked upon as wielders of numerous power. In the case of tantric initiates, this power is felt to be especially great because of their close association with the shadow side of life, notably the realm of the dead. At one end of the tantric spectrum, we have highly unorthodox practices such as black magic that go against the moral grain of Hindu society and that of most societies. At the other end, we have the tantric masters who decry all doctrines and all rituals and instead applaud the idea of perfect spontaneity. Sahaja. Most schools fall between these two poles. They are typically highly ritualistic, but infused with the recognition that liberation springs from wisdom, which is innate and therefore cannot be produced by any external means. All the many tantric techniques merely serve to cleanse the mirror of the mind so as to faithfully reflect the ever present reality, allowing the native wisdom to shine forth without distortion. Okay. And that's this text, The Path of Ecstasy, George Fierstein. So again, you're welcome to visit mysticknowledge.org, and under further lessons, you'll see a breakdown of the limiting effect of Tantra Yoga as expounded by the International Mystic Knowledge Center, and books that detail the various limbs of Tantra Yoga, including Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Pranayama, Mantra Yoga, Mudra Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, and Laya Yoga. All right, so do we have any final questions or comments before we close out today's session? All right. If not, then let us recite. In closing, let us recite the New Lord's Prayer. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and ever. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance and participation. If you have any additional questions or comments that you were not able to pose today in the student session, or would like to have us answer privately, you're welcome to send us an email and we will answer those for you. If you would like autographed copies of Mr. Davis's books, the first one, Ancient Language of the Soul, or the second one, The Miracle Kit Behind Prayer, email us at the Mystic Knowledge webpage. You'll see the web email address there, mysticlessons@gmail, and you can request a copy, and we'll organize that for you. We'll organize that for you. Okay, thank you much, everyone. Have a wonderful week. And for those members of the society, remember, we're still within a spiritual push. So if you can, as much as possible, perform the 12 blessings in addition to other spiritual activities that will be of great benefit to the world as a whole. Thank you much, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Take care.